Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. Joining me right now is Chris Mannix, the host of the Chris Mannix Show, weekday afternoons on NBC Sports Radio, the 24-hour sports talk network. Download the app and subscribe to the Mannix podcast. Chris, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Good. So I want to start with this whole fiasco that happened the last day of the season. The Nets, they sit three healthy scratches, arguably the three best players, basically opening the door for the Bulls to get into the playoffs. You know, Adam Silver said a couple weeks ago that they want to do something about this issue. What can the NBA do about this just surplus of guys resting all the time? Because now it's affected a playoff outcome, letting the Bulls basically just walk right into the 8th seed.
Well, look, they've been proactive over the last month in terms of the contending teams resting players against nationally televised games. That's something I think will continue to be at the top of the NBA's agenda. As far as this, and I don't even want to call it rest, as far as benching players late in the season, that's something I think is an issue, and it's been an issue with the Lakers and Suns. I don't think the NBA is going to do a heck of a lot about it. I would propose that they would fine teams a significant amount of money if they believe that they're just benching guys for the sake of losing. But that doesn't seem like it has a lot of traction from what I'm told in the NBA office. I should say this, though, about the Nets. Look, the Nets all season long have been playing to win. I mean, they have nothing to tank for at this point. Their pick goes to Boston at the end of the year. And up until Monday night against the Celtics, when they played all their guys and Brook Lopez broke the franchise record, they were playing everybody. And the Nets, look, this is an important offseason for them. They may trade Brook Lopez. They may trade Jeremy Lin. And if they don't, they need these guys focused on getting better and not potentially rehabbing an injury. And when you've got a guy like Brook Lopez, whose foot has been operated on 3 times over the last 5 years, you've got to take extra caution. I know it bothers people that it affects the playoff race, but that can't be the Nets' priority. That cannot be what they're focused on. It's got to be their own team, and I don't think it was too egregious to take Brook Lopez and those guys out.
You mentioned the Boston. They get the 1 seed in the East. The Cavs fall the 2 seed. But numerous times LeBron has been the 2 seed in the East and has made it to the NBA Finals. But you could argue this is probably one of the worst defensive teams LeBron has ever played for. How difficult or not difficult will the Cavs, road back to the Finals be?
Well, I think they made it as difficult as it could possibly be in this season. The problems they have, you're correct, their defense has been atrocious over the last month, and I'm not sure that's something that you can just flip a switch on and say, we're going to be a better defensive team now. But even if it was playing at a higher level, I mean, their road is rocky. I mean, they're going to have to go up against Toronto in that second round. And Toronto, to me, is as difficult a matchup as you're going to get in the Eastern Conference playoffs. They got Kyle Lowry back 4 games ago. He has been terrific in each of those 4 games that he's been back. And the addition of Serge Ibaka has made this Raptors team an entirely different defensive team. He gives them the type of defensive versatility that they didn't have when they faced the Cavaliers last year. So, forget the Eastern Conference Finals and maybe not having home court advantage. The conference semifinals are going to be flat-out war, and that's something I think the Cavaliers could have avoided by playing a little bit harder down the stretch.
Who is the one team in the East that you look at and say that team could beat the Cavs in a 7-game series?
That's Toronto. It really is. I'm not sure Boston's there yet. I know they're the top seed, and that's an incredible accomplishment for a team that just 4 years ago was bottoming out, trading away their players, stripping down a championship contender for draft picks. Now, 4 years later, they're the 1 seed in the East at 53 wins. But they're still a little bit on the young side. Jaylen Brown's not what he's going to be. Marcus Smart's not what he's going to be. And they're very one-dimensional offensively. If Isaiah Thomas gets taken away, they don't really know where to go. Toronto's different. Toronto's got DeRozan. They've got Lowry. Now they've got Ibaka. They can defend, as I mentioned, in a bunch of versatile ways. They're as tough and out for Cleveland as they're going to be, I think, in the playoffs.
We're talking with Chris Mannix of The Vertical on NBC Sports Radio. You can follow him on Twitter at Chris MannixYS. Chris, on Twitter, you posted your choices for the awards. I'm just going to run these down real quick. Why Westbrook for MVP?
Well, I think Westbrook, the season he's had, and most importantly, how well the Thunder have played in the aftermath of Durant, that to me that put him over the top. I mean, the triple-double, that alone could warrant him strong consideration. But This team lost Kevin Durant last summer. I mean, Kevin freaking Durant. This guy's a top 5 player in the NBA. And if I look at the history of the teams that have lost that type of player and their following season, it's awful. You go back to 2010 when LeBron left Cleveland. The Cavaliers bottomed out. Same thing with New Orleans when they traded Chris Paul. Same thing with Orlando when they traded Dwight Howard. This team has been a mid-40s team, finished a mid-40s team despite losing Kevin Durant. And that is a testament to the skill level of Russell Westbrook, taking his team, strapping him on its back, and making them the 6th seed in the Western Conference. I mean, all that combined, that gives him the slightest of edges over Harden and Kawhi Leonard.
Dario Saric for Rookie of the Year. Why him instead of either Embiid or Brogdon?
Embiid didn't play enough games for me. If he had finished out the season before the injury, I would have leaned his way. But being limited to what he was, that just wasn't enough. And Brogdon was close. He was very close. I just think Brogdon had a little more talent around him and wasn't asked to do quite as much. And I love the progress that Saric made from month to month. I mean, his first month was his worst month. His last month, I think, was his best month. He played great basketball after the All-Star break and didn't just convince a few voters of the award that he was worthy of the award. I think he went out and grabbed it, and that to me was enough.
Ben Simmons has been cleared to play 5-on-5. It looks like he's going to be healthy moving forward. What kind of projection do you have for Ben Simmons as an NBA player?
I think he's going to be terrific. I think he has superstar potential. What's going to hold him back is what holds a lot of young guys back early on. That's the jump shot. It's not very good from what I saw at Summer League, and the way he played at Summer League, he's not going to be able to play at an NBA level. I mean, you can't make the type of in-the-lane passes that Ben Simmons was making that drew, ooze from the crowd in the NBA. Those will get knocked away and stolen, and there's a pretty good chance his first year he commits a staggering number of turnovers. But this is all natural for a young player coming out of college. I think that if he's got the right work ethic, that jump shot's going to improve, and that skill level as he gets more comfortable on the floor, that's going to raise him up. I think he really has a chance to kind of reinvent that point forward position as almost a 7-footer, playing that spot.
And real quick before I let you go, Chris, appreciate your time. How much noise can the Utah Jazz make in the Western Conference playoffs?
Well, they can either make very little or I think they can make a lot, if that makes any sense. I mean, the Clippers, they're playing great right now, but you just don't know which Clipper team is going to show up on any given night. And the Jazz have been very consistent all season long as they've taken this next step from being a non-playoff team into a middle-of-the-pack playoff team. And they can play a bunch of different ways. And they've got veterans on that team that will help make it a little bit easier to transition into the playoffs. But the Clippers, if they're playing their best, they could probably wipe the Jazz out in 4 or 5 games. If they're not, I could see the Jazz going into the second round and even giving a team like Golden State a little bit of trouble in that second round.
He is Chris Mannix, the host of The Chris Mannix Show, weekday afternoons on NBC Sports Radio, the 24-hour sports talk network. Download the app and subscribe to the Mannix podcast. Chris, appreciate the time today.
You got it anytime.